All right, we're recording. Good. All right, show me your blank pages when you get them. So I know that you have just a blank page. Good. Ugbad has a blank page. Ray, do you have a blank page yet? There's a blank page for Samaya. Thank you. Ray, do you have paper?
Paper now.
Go find some.
Okay. Let me go get some.
Okay, let's see your paper there. You have what, blank page? Good. All right, so at the very top of your blank page, I want you to write author's purpose. And then I want you to write the 3 author's purposes underneath that. And then just give me a signal when you're done with that.
Excuse me, is other purpose for the text?
Yeah, we're
Right.
reviewing for the test right now. Yep. What are the author's purposes? I want you to write that down. What are the purpose for writing? Let me know when you're done.
Miss.
Yes. Are you done? You ready to go on, you guys? You've gotten your 3 purposes down? Ray does. Khadija, you ready?
Not yet, teacher.
Not yet. Okay. I'm going to give you 1 more minute. Author's purpose. Okay, that was 1 minute. I would like, Ugbad, are you there? Samaya, are you there?
Yes, Miss.
Okay, can you tell me 1 author's purpose?
It's like
To persuade.
To persuade, okay. Ugbad, did you say 1?
yeah, and like sorry, when they're yelling to him to give like they explain like he's nothing person.
Okay, so Ugbad, there are 3 author's purposes. There's
Oh,
just one answer, and Samaya has said to persuade. Ray, do you have another one?
I have an entertain.
To entertain. Khadija, what's the last one?
Inform.
To inform. So to inform, to persuade, and to entertain. Those are our author's purposes. Okay, so on the practice test, I'm pretty sure it says, what is the purpose for this, right? You're going to put one of those 3 words down when it asks you about what purpose. Okay?
Okay.
All right, so next I want you to put another label on your blank piece of paper, and that is modes of discourse, and there are 4 of them. So number it 1, 2, 3, 4. What are the 4 modes of discourse? And I want you to define it. So what does it mean as well? So go ahead, I'll give you 3 minutes. Well, I'll give you 4 minutes, 1 minute for each. Go. And I'm just gonna sit here and scratch my mosquito bites while you do that. All right, I think that's been 4 minutes. I'm gonna start with you, Ugbad, again. Are you ready? She just turned her thing off. Ugbad, are you ready?
I know yet, Miss.
I'm starting with you. Do you have a mode of discourse?
No, I don't.
No? Okay. What about you, Khadija? Do you have a mode of discourse?
Yes, I have narrative.
Narrative, and what is a narrative?
Narrative is the person like when the author read talk about himself. It's like when he use I did that, I go there and it's about the author. He's
It's a,
talking about his story.
it's a story. Yeah. A narrative
Yeah.
is a story, and it's in time order. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
So it's like once upon a time, it's a story. Absolutely. Ray, do you have a mode of discourse?
Yes.
Oh, awesome. Which one?
I have an expository.
Expository. And what is expository?
Explain things out of use.
Yep. It's to tell, right? They're explaining things, they're informing us of something, they're telling us how to do something or what happened. It's not biased, it's more fact, right?
Yep.
Great. Samaya, do you have one?
Description.
Description. And what is description?
When the author tells or describes a person, place, or thing.
Yep, it just, and what do we look for in description specifically?
The focus, or I think the visual of what the author's trying to say.
Vision is one. It's 5 senses. It can be sight, smell, taste, feeling, and hearing, right?
Yeah.
Any of those 5 senses, when you see lots of sensory details, that is a description. Okay?
Okay.
Absolutely. All right, there's one more.
Is it persuasive?
Persuasion, exactly. And what does persuasion mean?
It's about the opinion, I think.
There's a lot of opinions.
Writing your opinion, like when you write your own opinion about
Yes.
something else.
And what is the author trying to do if they're trying to persuade you?
I think.
Does anybody know? It doesn't have to just be Khadija. You're not in the hot seat. Anybody can answer that. What is the author trying to do when they're using persuasion? If I'm trying to persuade you, what am I trying to do? Anybody? Hello?
I think Amazon.
Say that one more time, Ray. You're just a little bit hard to understand. Get closer to your microphone, because I just barely can hear you.
I don't know. I think maybe Amazon, who you are.
The opposite,
Yeah.
that's irony. That's a tone. But persuasion. So I'm going to give you an example of persuasion, and then you can tell me what I'm trying to do. Okay?
Okay.
Everybody should read a book a month. Because if you read a book every single month, you will learn more vocabulary. You will learn more about the world, and you'll gain knowledge. You will learn about different cultures because you'll see things in different perspectives. And so every single person should read at least one book every single month. What am I trying to do?
You're trying to persuade us to read a book a month.
Right. And use a different word than persuade, Samaya. What am I trying to do?
Convince.
Yeah, I'm trying to convince you. I'm trying to get you to do it, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to get you to read and please do read all of that was true. Right? So if I'm trying to persuade you, I'm trying to get you to do what I want. I'm trying to get you to believe the way I believe. Right? And that special word is convince. Trying to convince you to do something, convince you to believe something, convince you to be on my side. That's persuasion. Okay, so those are your 4 modes of discourse. Narrative tells a story. Description uses the 5 senses so the reader can experience the text the way the author does. Expository tells you something. It explains something. It gives you directions. It tells what happens. Okay, it's all about facts. It's not about bias. And then persuasion is all about opinion, and it's trying to convince you to do or believe the same thing that the author believes or does. Okay? Those are your 4 modes of discourse. Okay.
Out of the course.
Your last thing. I'm going to give you 5 minutes to do this. Are you ready? Patterns
Yes.
of organization. You have 6. 6 patterns of organization. Write them down. How you guys doing? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, Ray, why don't you start? What is one of your patterns of organization?
I will start with definition and example.
Definition example. That's a good one.
Yeah.
What does that mean? What is the definition and example? What does that
Definition, I think that would be me explain something and giving an example.
right, exactly. Perfect. And it can be a term or it can be a concept, right? As long as you're explaining and illustrating with examples, you've got it. Perfect. Who has another one?
Another one?
Not you. You have a break. Who has another one? Anybody? Okay, go
Me, I
ahead.
have another one.
Okay, go ahead, Khadija.
Is a cause and effect.
Cause and effect. Yep. And what does that mean?
Cause is like what you, when something happens, it's like what you get,
Yeah,
and
ask the question
effect
why.
and yeah, effect is a consequence like for this thing.
Consequence is a great word. Consequence. The consequence for something happening. It answers
Yeah.
the question why. Another word is a result of something.
Oh, results for
A
something.
result of something. Yep. Absolutely. All right. You guys can both take a break. Samaya or Ogba, do you have another one?
No, I don't.
What about you, Samaya? Do you? Samaya, are you there? She might not be there. All right. So I guess Ray, Khadija, it's all you, man. What's another one?
Compare and
Another
contrast.
one.
Compare and contrast. Okay. What's that one? And
Compare when
actually,
you compare two things together.
yes. And when you're comparing, that's one of them. Compare. What are you doing with two things? You're looking at how the two
Similar.
things are
Yeah.
similar, right? How they're alike,
Yeah.
right?
Similar. Yeah. We like
So
it.
if Khadija and I, if we were going to compare Khadija and I, how are we alike?
Yeah, we have a lot of different things.
Yeah, but how are we alike? How are we the same?
Yes, cause you got girl, lady.
Yeah,
So
we're both girls. Our gender is the same, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? How else are we alike?
long hair.
Yeah, I have long hair. I don't know. Does Khadija, do you have long hair?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. Yep.
Yeah,
You have
long
long
hair.
hair. All right. Yep. I have one. I think we're both mothers, right?
Yes.
Yeah. We're both mothers. We both have children. So that is how we're comparing. Comparing means how are you alike? Okay. We're both wearing blue today too. Yours is a little darker.
We're
Yours
blue.
has purple. It looks kind of blue. Is it purple though? It looks maybe could be purple.
Purple. This one.
Oh shoot. Well then we're not. Never mind. Okay. So all right. So there's compare, and then you said contrast too. And if you're contrasting, you have two things as well. But you're looking at what? You're looking at how the two things are
Opposite.
opposite or different, right? So if we're gonna do Khadija and I again, how are we different?
Sometimes can we be similar?
Yep, compare is similar, and and contrast is different. So how are Khadija and I different?
You are total different persons.
True. How are we different?
For the colors,
Yeah, we're different races, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. What else? How else are we different?
for the body,
Yes. How else?
About the study too. You are a teacher. I'm the student.
I have more authority than you. Yep. I'm a teacher. You're
Yeah.
the student. Absolutely.
and language.
My English is my first language. And
Yeah.
what's your first language, Khadija?
French.
French.
We speak in French. Yeah.
Ah, bonjour. I took French in high school. I know like 3 words now. I forgot everything I learned, but bonjour, I can do that. Ça va? Yeah, that's about it. Right? I have glasses. She does not have glasses, right?
Yeah.
Right. All right, so that is contrasting. So we're taking 2 things and looking how they're different. When that's contrast. Taking 2 things and looking at how they're the same, that's comparison. So we have comparison, we have contrast, we have definition and example, we have cause and effect. 2 more. What's another one?
Time order.
Time order. Ooh, tell me about that.
And the sample list.
What is time order?
Okay, time order is when or something like that.
Yeah, it has to be in a specific order, right? You can't mix up the order because it changes the meaning of the text. So when we did the 3 Little Pigs, we couldn't mix it up because then it wouldn't be the story of the 3 Little Pigs because the author wrote it in a certain order. It's time order because it's a story. So you can't mix it up or it changes the meaning of the text, right? So Khadija said simple listing. What is that?
Simple listing is something like when you do time order, like you say you want to buy something. It's something you added there. It was not your plan.
Okay, so if you have like a list of something, it can be in any order. It doesn't matter what order it is in because it will not change the meaning of the text, right? So like grocery lists of examples, when you're doing definition and example pattern, those lists of examples, that would be a simple list. Okay. All right, how are you feeling about these definitions? Are you understanding all the components? You know what a purpose is, right? Those 3 things that are purposes. You know what a mode of discourse is. Those 4 things that we talked about next. And you know what patterns of organization are. And you see how they start really broad, like, I'm going to write to inform you, right, about popcorn, or whatever, right? That's like this broad thing. And then you go a little bit narrower and you say, you know what, I think I'm going to tell a story about popcorn, and that's how I'm going to inform you about popcorn. And then you go a little bit more narrow and you might say, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to compare and contrast popcorn with other foods. And so that goes narrower, right? So you can see it's kind of like that triangle that goes, it's really broad on top and then goes more, just like when we talked about main idea, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's all of text structure. So why don't you guys pull up or pull out your practice tests and let me help you with that. What do you need me to help you with? Do you have questions? I'll pull mine up too. And I also have the certainty of fear essay up. So I have both of them ready to go whenever whatever you want to talk about. Do you want me to share my screen?
Yes, please.
Okay. Here it is. All right. We just did all of this, right? Purpose, modes of discourse, and 6 organizational patterns. We did that. So we'll move on to the next. What questions do you have? Did you say something, Ray? I just didn't hear you. The second paragraph? The one about Charles Dickens?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do that one.
Yeah.
Alrighty, so it says, when Charles Dickens, I'm right here. When Charles Dickens told the story of the French Revolution in his classic novel, A Tale of Two Cities, He based much of his tale on solid historical fact. History books mention the wastefulness of nobility. In like manner, Dickens tells of a French nobleman who required 4 servants just to bring him a cup of hot chocolate. History books detail the sorry conditions of the prisons. Similarly, Dickens writes of dreadful diseases that overcame prisoners, who often died before their sentences could be carried out. But the most memorable features of A Tale of Two Cities are the characters, who are Dickens' own creations and have little to do with history. The villain, Madame Defarge, for instance, never really existed, and history does not mention the heroic Sidney Carton or his famous sacrifice. All right, so the first thing I want you to do is I want you to look through this paragraph and you tell me where you see some transitional phrases that I can highlight. Where are the transitions?
I think maybe similar.
Similarly?
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yep. Do you see any others?
Mhm. What about after?
After? Ooh, let me
Yeah.
find it. Where is it? I don't see it. When
Oh no. It's not after that.
There is a but
Okay.
too,
there's a but. Here's a but.
but the most memory
Yep.
difficult.
What else? There's one more that's kind of hard. Do you want me to give that one to you?
Yeah.
Before.
In like manner. In like manner. Okay, so we have some transition words that might be a clue to our patterns of organization. All right, so first of all, what is this about? What's the topic?
The
Are
topic
they a
is
table
about
of two cities?
Okay, and what is the controlling idea? What are they talking about with the Tale of Two Cities? What does the author want us to know? What's the most important thing this author wants us to know about the Tale of Two Cities?
is budget much of the historical.
It's based on history, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's
The
write a
history,
thesis statement. And remember, when you're writing a thesis statement, you are just combining the topic and the controlling idea. So, how would we do that? How would we start? The, maybe?
I don't know.
The book what book are we talking about again?
We're talking about the table of two CDs.
So the book, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens is the book A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens is
Story.
based based on what? The book A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens is based
It's on history.
on history. Right. Okay, so now we're going to look into the text up here. Do you see a sentence that has the same idea as this?
Is the sentence, second sentence, like it tells of the city he based much of the his told on solid historical facts.
Yeah. So this first paragraph, this first sentence right here, right?
Yes.
Right? So I'm just going to copy and paste that because that is, but you know what I need to do first? I need to put a quotation mark because I'm using these words, right? So I'm going to put quotation marks. I'm just going to do that. And I'm going to put quotation marks. And there is my thesis right here. Right? So that is the main idea of that paragraph. When Charles Dickens told the story of the French Revolution in his classic novel, A Tale of Two Cities, he based much of his tale on solid historical fact. Right? And that is very close to what I wrote. The book, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens, is based on history. It means the same thing, but since the author gave us, has a stated main idea here, we're going to use it. We're just going to quote it to let us know that this is not my thinking, this is the author's thinking, right?
Yeah.
All right, so there is our thesis statement. Now it says, oh, what's the author's purpose?
It's narrative.
Is it? Why is it a
It's
narrative?
about a story.
Is it a story?
So, yeah. It's not a story, I mean his story. It's something happened.
Okay, so the book is a story, right? A Tale of Two Cities is definitely a narrative. It's a book. But this paragraph is telling us that that Charles Dickens told his story based in historical fact. So they're telling us something about the story. So it isn't a narrative. What is it if it's not narrative? It's telling us something about it, right? So what mode of discourse? Oh, I'm sorry, what purpose?
Persuasion?
What purpose?
Persuasion?
What's it trying to convince us of? Is there a should somewhere? Is it trying to convince us of something?
No. Yes.
Nope. So remember, author's purpose, we've said it can't be persuasion. Is it to entertain or to inform?
A bit informed.
Yep, you're
It
right.
is info.
It is. Because it's telling us about this, how his book is based in historical fact, right? So it's to inform. And so now we're going to talk about the mode of discourse. So that's those 4, right? And you can use your cheat sheet. It's right in front of you. You just took notes on this. So what would the mode of discourse be for this?
Maybe exploratory.
Why would you say expository?
Because explain the books. So
It's telling us about how he wrote the book. Absolutely. So this is expository. Absolutely. And then you get a multiple choice here, right? The main patterns of organization of this selection are list of items and definition example, cause effect, or comparison and or contrast.
Comparison and contrast.
You're absolutely right. Why?
Yeah, because you
Why is it comparison and or contrast? What's being compared?
talk about similarity of the thing, two things.
Similarity of what 2 things? Similarity of what 2 things?
there is a complaint about the Timbuktu city,
And what else?
then the other one is the valley something over there.
And the history, is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah, and history, right? You're comparing what happened in the Tale of Two Cities in the book and what happened in history and how those are 2 things are the same, right? And so the examples, the list of items that they're using to give us examples are history says that there's wastefulness. And then Dickens explains that by talking about how 4 servants had to bring a cup of hot chocolate to somebody. And that's wasteful, right? Using 4 people for 1 cup of hot chocolate. That's amazing. And then it says, in like manner, which means similarly, right? Similarly is similarly. He writes about the diseases that were in the prisons, right? In the book, talks about that. And then in history, that actually happened, right? And then there's a but. And what does but mean?
That means
But means contrast, right? Contrast. So now they're going to talk about how the book is not like history. And how the book contrasts is that the characters in the book are not historical people. They're made up. They're fiction. Right? Where it says here, and history does not mention the heroic, right?
Yeah.
They have little to do with history. So that's after the but. So this is the contrast part. So it's comparison and contrast. And so then any of these transitional phrases that I highlighted up here can be here. So which one do you want to use?
Similar.
Similarly, okay. Similarly. Done. Okay, so how did that feel, Ray?
Oh, I kind of good because I kind of write it down and copy it.
Good. So now
Yeah.
you have a process to how to tackle these paragraphs. Do you want to do the other paragraph too?
I'm good for that, so the accurate. Yeah.
Did you say yes or no?
No.
No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So do you guys have any other questions about the practice test?
What about the vocabulary?
A vocabulary?
Yeah.
This?
Yeah.
This is going to be the exact same as it has been in the last test. While you're reading, and I'll just pull up the, here, I'll pull this up too. Shoot. Crud. There we go. Okay, and you guys are like in my way a little bit, so I'm gonna have to move you. There. Oh, nope. Here we go. All right. So it says in paragraph 17. So I'm gonna just scroll to paragraph 17, just here, right? And it says in midlife, we become more confident and less obsessed with what others are thinking of us. But underneath that veneer of confidence, a new kind of fear grips many middle-aged people. So what I do to figure these out is I try out the words that are there that I have to choose from. So I just read that sentence over and over again, right? In midlife, we generally become more confident and less obsessed with what others are thinking of us. But underneath that center of confidence isn't a new kind of fear grips. That doesn't really make sense. Underneath that center doesn't. So I'm going to say no to A. But underneath that veneer of confidence, but underneath that thin layer of confidence, a new kind of fear grips many middle-aged people. Does that make sense? Maybe. All right, I'm going to try the next one. But underneath that rusty surface of confidence, what do you think about that? Should we keep it or not? But underneath that logic of confidence, a new kind of fear grips many middle-aged people. So which one is the best, you think?
I think maybe the fancy.
Did you say B?
Yes, B, I think.
A thin layer of confidence? In midlife, we generally become more confident and less obsessed with what others are thinking of us. But underneath that thin layer of confidence, a new kind of fear grips many middle-aged people. Does that make sense?
So it's center.
You think it's center?
Yes.
So how do you go underneath the center?
Oh.
Right? I would put B. It's thin layer. A veneer is a thin layer. Usually it is something that you put on wood to make it, to protect the wood, right? Just like confidence kind of protects you from your fear. Does that make sense? So it is B, thin layer. Let's do the next one. The next one's in paragraph 26. So I need to get to paragraph 26. It's right here. I'm looking for the word adversely. Benjamin Franklin once wrote, "In this world, nothing is certain but death and taxes." Franklin might have added, "and fears." Every stage of life brings them. While we may say goodbye to childish fears, there are always others in the wings waiting to take their place. Being aware of them, we can keep their dark shadows from adversely affecting our lives. Okay. So, by being aware of fears, we can keep their dark shadows from positively affecting our lives. Does that make sense?
No.
No, fear isn't usually a positive thing, right?
Yeah.
So by being aware of them, we can keep their dark shadows from negatively affecting our lives. Does that make sense?
Negative.
That does?
Yeah. Negative.
Okay, so we'll keep B. We'll think about B because that makes sense, okay? Being aware of them, we can keep their dark shadows from happily affecting our lives. Are fears happy usually?
I don't think there's feel happy.
I don't think
There's
fear
a
is
dark
happy.
shadows.
Fear is not
And they're dark shadows, that's right. So happily, we have to cross that one off. So we've crossed off A, we've crossed off C. Okay, let's look at D now. By being aware of fear, we can keep their dark shadows from mildly affecting our lives. Does that one make sense?
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. I think negatively is our best answer too. Because really, fear is kind of a negative feeling, right? You don't want to be scared.
Yeah.
Like normal people, like some people go to horror movies to be scared. They're not normal, in my opinion. I don't like horror movies. Although I will say that I like suspenseful movies. I like feeling like, oh my gosh, they're gonna, right? I do. But I think in the context of this essay, she's talking about fear all the way through and how that negatively affects people. So, yep, I think negatively is correct. Anything else that you have questions about?
Nope.
You feeling good, Ray?
Yeah.
Good. You feeling okay, Khadija?
Yeah, because I'm just worried about the time because it's
The time?
Texas. Yeah, I'm just worried about the time when we have when we first test is 2 hours.
Yep.
We
2
need
hours.
to read all this and annotate it.
I think so, but I'm not. No, I don't think that annotating is part of it. I think it will help you though.
Oh, okay.
I think it'll help you if you keep track of what you're thinking, right? Because you're going to,
Yeah.
it's all about patterns of organization. So it's going to ask you
So
what sentence is the best main idea. So you're going to have to do some, what's the topic? What's the, right? What's the controlling
you're
idea?
right.
And then author's purpose, you know what that is. Mode of
Yeah.
discourse, you know what that is. But then it's these that are going to record 2 examples of listing. How are the first 6 paragraphs organized? Look at paragraphs 9 through 14. What is the organizational pattern for those paragraphs? So you're going to have to read it and then go back and do some studying, right?
So I have to, after that, I have to write a reflection about.
And then you have to write a reflection. And remember, this is what you think about the text.
The text, yeah. I was
Okay.
just worried about like annotation, so I was just thinking like I have to annotate.
Well, it will only help you to annotate, but you do not have to
Yeah.
hand in your annotations this time.
Okay. Yeah.
But I mean, even here, when we were doing this is annotating. I'm figuring out where the transitions are. If I had my pencil, I would be circling those, right? But since I don't have my
Yes.
pencils online, I'm just highlighting. Okay?
Okay.
All right. Anything else that you need me for? We have to talk about the Absolutely True diary still. So can we move to that next? Or are you not
I
done?
I still have a question about in the exam. We're gonna have the same text.
Same tasks, different text. So it won't be the certainty of fear. It will be a different text that I will tell you about in the quiz when you get in there.
Oh, okay.
Okay?
Okay. That would be the same. This paragraph and then can read again.
They're going to be
This
different
make me
paragraphs.
easier.
I don't know if they'll be easier, but they'll be different paragraphs. They'll be
Okay.
similar.
Oh, same ones.
Similar, yeah. Okay?
I thought if you give the syntax, maybe
No.
yeah,
I'm
it's
not going to give you
gonna
the
be
same
like
text.
easy a little bit.
Ray, of course it would be
But
easy.
2 hours, just
did
2
it.
hours only.
You
So
already did it then. No. Jeez. Jeez Louise. All right, we're going to move to the Absolutely True Diary of a Part-Time Indian. So I'm going to stop my screen sharing. Hey, there you are. And you guys brought up some great points to talk about. So it looks like a lot of you wanted to talk about the Junior's grandmother's death. Sorry, there's going to be pounding now, it looks like. So they're right outside my door here. Right outside. It seems like they wait until I need to hear you, and then they start pounding. Okay, so what did you want to talk about Junior's grandmother's death? Well, let's just say, what happened? What happened? How did she die? You are all, yep, thank you. You're all muted, so I can't hear you. I see your mouths, but I can't hear you.
And then like when
Shit. He lost his grandmother by accident.
What accident? Be specific. What kind of accident was it?
Is a driver hit her?
Yep, what kind of a driver?
She was
He was
going
drunk.
Drunk driver, right?
Drunk driver, yeah.
Drunk driver hit her and she died.
Yeah.
And what did you want to talk about this? Why is this a big deal in this book?
because his grandma was the best advisor who gave him always advice.
Right? It was his grandma is the one that said that Roger respected him. Right?
Yeah.
And now Roger and Junior are friends. So she was right. What else do we know about about Junior's grandma?
When he was scared about the school, she gave advice, never give up anything. So,
And she was 100% on board about him going to the white school. She said, think of all the people you're going to meet, right? Think of that. That's what life is to meet as many kinds of people as you can.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is wonderful, right? She's this wonderful, accepting lady. And I did find a place in the book, of course, which you all have right in front of you, right?
Yes.
And it's on page 154 and 155. that I wanted to bring our attention to. So on page 154, kind of almost toward the bottom,
She was just talk about her like she was amazing. She was like that.
it's exactly right.
Yeah.
And then the one that I want to look at is she was tolerant. She was tolerant.
Yeah.
And then I want to go to the next page. And at the top of the next page, on page 155, it says, "My grandmother's greatest gift was tolerance." Now, in the old days, Indians used to be forgiving of any kind of eccentric. I can never say this word, so bear with me. If you're eccentric, I can never put the ITY on it. Eccentricity. I think that's how you say it, eccentricity. But if you're eccentric, it means you're really different and you kind of stand out. Okay? So when you guys are like in a big crowd of people, there's always somebody that kind of looks a little different, stands out a little bit. You call them eccentric. They're eccentric, right?
Yeah.
So in the old days, Indians used to be forgiving of those people that kind of stand out and are different. In fact, and now he's going to use the word weird, which is kind of derogatory. But let's not take it as derogatory. Let's take it as just a word, okay? In fact, weird people were often celebrated. Epileptics. Do you know what an epileptic is? Do you know what epilepsy is?
No, teacher.
Epilepsy is a disease. And epileptics, they have seizures a lot. People who have epilepsy have seizures. And you guys know what a seizure is, right?
Yeah, yeah.
You kind of just freeze and you start shaking and you might fall over. You have no control over it at all.
Yeah.
And a lot of people think that's weird if somebody just all of a sudden has a seizure. They're like, everyone kind of panics about it, right? But epileptics were often shamans. And do you know what a shaman is? A shaman is a religious leader.
Oh, that God give. Okay, seizure decision.
Yep, it's a religious leader. So like any kind of, I'm only thinking Catholic right now for some reason. Priests, rabbis, preachers. I'm not going to think of everybody. Help. What other kind of people are religious leaders?
Pope.
The Pope. What else?
Catholic.
Okay, so religious leaders. So epileptics were often religious leaders or shamans because people just assumed that God gave seizure visions to the lucky ones. And so if that were true, Junior would be a shaman, right? Because he has seizures, because he has brain damage, right?
Yeah, his brain is damaged. Yeah.
Then it says gay people were seen as magical too. I mean, like in many countries, men were viewed as warriors and women were viewed as caregivers. But gay people, being both male and female, were seen as both warriors and caregivers. Gay people could do anything. They were like Swiss Army knives. My grandmother had no use for all the gay bashing and homophobia in the world, especially among other Indians. Geez, she said, who cares if a man wants to marry another man? All I want to know is who's going to pick up all the dirty socks. I appreciate that. I appreciate the dirty socks comment. I do. All right. So, of course, ever since white people showed up and brought along their Christianity and their fears of I can't say this word very well, I can't. Indians have gradually lost all of their tolerance. Indians can be just as judgmental and hateful as any white person, but not my grandmother. So I just thought that was such an interesting, different perspective of how to accept people, and anybody who's a little bit different or outcast, instead of having a negative view of people that are different, and I'm going to just use weird because that's what he used, right? They go, oh, they're different, they must be special, and they kind of raise them up instead of tamp them down. And I just thought that was really, like, I kind of wish our society was more like that. Wouldn't our society be totally different if we did that instead of being derogatory to people who are different?
Yeah.
I liked that part. All right, so anything else about, all right, did you say something? I just was talking and I'm sorry.
Yes. I feel like even our religion is too. If someone dies, if you even mad or like if you fight before, you have to go and they're respected.
Wouldn't that be, why can't we just do that? Be nice to people. Why is it so difficult to be nice to people? Just don't know.
Easy work. It is easy to do. But the
I think
people
so. So weird. So why else is this a big deal that Junior's grandmother dies from a drunk driver? What is ironic about it? Where is the irony?
Ironic.
This is a hard question.
It is.
I guess it could be in fact with people who love to celebrate. This could be irony.
They're celebrating her life afterwards. Yeah. Yeah, really, funerals do have a lot of irony in it, right? Because you're celebrating the life. And yes, and I think that her funeral, there was a lot of irony because they were laughing and kind of whooping it up instead of, like, it wasn't this solemn. Absolutely. I was thinking of something specific about drunk driving. Because Junior's grandma never drank ever. I mean, she never touched alcohol ever. And then she died because somebody else was drunk. So even though she took care of herself and never drank, she still died because of it.
It means like if you drink or not drink, if you do other things, you will die one day.
Right? Right. So that, I think, is ironic that she died because of alcoholism, even though she didn't drink. So Ray brought up the funeral, and I think that that is an interesting thing to talk about too. What happened at the funeral?
The new Gator and Junior became best friends.
Yeah, they were nice to Junior, even after the whole basketball incident when they threw something at him and he had to go to the hospital. But they were nice to him and they were supportive of him, right?
Yep.
Absolutely. Oh, Nicholas just came in. Hi, Nicholas. What? I can't. 11:30. 11:30. Sorry. We have to go in and my son's getting a COVID-19 test at 11:30 today because he was exposed. So he doesn't necessarily have it, but we're being cautious. Oh, he's correcting me. He said, actually, I was not exposed. My friends were exposed. but he's getting tested to just make sure. So, okay. So I don't remember what I asked. What are we talking about? Help. He interrupted.
Like how nice with how they becoming nice with juniors, with the basketballs.
Yeah, and then now there's the community that rallied, and the funeral was huge. 2,000 people. That's amazing. But even with 2,000 people there to celebrate his grandmother's life, it still got interrupted by Ted. Do you guys remember Ted?
Ted, yes, the girl father.
Nope, not a girl's father.
Okay.
You remember Ted? Okay. Then we won't talk about Ted.
I remember it's the white guy.
Yeah, he's the white guy.
Yes.
Shows up, takes over,
Yeah,
right?
He said, yep. He said like I'm not India, but I'm feeling with.
Come on, get out. Get out of here. You are not Native American. You shouldn't be here. This is a funeral. Go away.
Yep.
Go away. And he wasn't even there really to be a support. He was there to take over and be the center of attention. That takes some guts, right?
Yep.
Go away. Go away. All right, I'm going to look at your list. The other thing that was mentioned is Eugene. There's a lot of death in this section. Because the grandmother died and then Eugene died too. How did Eugene die? This is his dad's friend, Eugene.
I think he was drinking a lot. So,
Yep, he was drunk. And
I forget it.
how did he die? Eugene and Bobby, they were drinking together. They were really drunk.
Yep.
Then what happened?
And then
Okay. I'm going to move on. Anything else? I don't see. I think that Penelope was in the last chunk. And then Ray, you have some things that are going to happen in the next chunk. So I'm not going to talk about those because they haven't happened yet. So I think that, what about the basketball? That was in this chunk, right? The basketball?
yep. That was thinking about like a junior can do with the basketball. And then they would tell him like you are nothing, so how you playing with a basketball?
So first of all, Junior and Rowdy were on each other, right? During this big basketball game.
Yep.
Who won?
Junior.
Who?
Junior.
Junior team won. Reardon won. The white school won, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
Yep.
and were you happy about that? When you were reading,
No, because
were you
they
happy? Were you like, yay, Junior won?
Yep.
Yeah? I was rooting for Junior, especially because they were so awful the first time they played them. They were so mean to Junior. I was like, I hope they win. Show those people, right?
Yep.
But then, what else happened?
Brody get mad when they went to him, and then he's like, we need to play again.
Mm-hmm. I'm just looking, I have my notes, so I'm just looking for the quote. Okay, so they won, right?
Yes.
And then it says, this is page 195. I looked for my dad because, right, they win and you're excited and you want to see your mom or your dad, right? You're like, yay, I won. And so he looked for his dad. I looked for my dad. I thought he would be cheering, but he wasn't. He was all quiet-faced as he looked at something else. And then I'm just going to skip ahead. It says, I looked. And then I'm going to skip ahead a little bit more. It says, it was the well-pennant Redskins lined up at their end of the court. So all the Res kids, right? And then I realized something. I realized that my team was the Goliath. I knew that none of the well-pennant Redskins was going to college. Not one of them. So who is Goliath? This is oh my gosh, I'm forgetting the word, but this refers to another text. And David and Goliath, what text is that?
I think he's talking about the Indian.
Yep, but what is the story of David and Goliath? Because they're alluding to that. This is an allusion. They're using another story to compare it to this story. Do you know the story of David and Goliath?
No, I don't, but I think they don't have education like a juniors.
Right, exactly. So David and Goliath is a story, it's a Christian story in the Bible. And Sherman Alexie is expecting his readers to know that. So I'm going to tell you the story so you know it, okay? David and Goliath. David was a character in the Bible. And there was a giant named Goliath. And he had to slay this giant, this really tough giant. And he was this little wimpy David, right? And he did it. He slayed the dragon. He slayed the giant, okay? So the story of David and Goliath, Goliath is always kind of the person that always wins because they're tougher, they're bigger, they're stronger. And David is always like the underdog, the person that you don't think is going to win. And what happened was because well-pennant, which is the res kids, they picked on Junior and they threw quarters at him and he ended up in the hospital after their first game. In Junior's mind, well-pennant became Goliath, became the person to beat, right? But after he won, he realized that really Reardon is the giant. Reardon is the one that always wins. Reardon is not an underdog. It's the giant. And so he was cheering because they beat the underdog. And that made him feel really bad. Do you see how those two stories kind of go together? So yes. And then he says, on page 196, he says, I was suddenly ashamed of my anger, my rage, and my pain. I was crying tears of pain. I had broken my best friend's heart. Right? So in my notebook that I was taking notes on, here's what I wrote. I wrote, he's right, of course. The kids at Reardon were privileged. They had enough to eat, clothes, electronics, and well-pennant kids were in deep poverty. How could he have done any different, though? He was really stuck. Save face for himself meant dissing his whole tribe, right? So he was in this really awful predicament that he wanted to win because he wanted to save face. He got carried off the court the last time. But now he, at the expense of his friends. So I felt really sorry for him, right? And so my reflection for just this chapter, because I do these little tiny books. This is how I keep track of my thinking. And so I'm just going to show you how I keep track. And this might be a strategy that you might like to do. It does take a little bit longer. But on the very first page of a chapter, I leave that there. I leave it blank right here. And I save that as for a summary of the chapter. And then I go through, and these are sort of like annotations. It's the T-chart that we talked about. So on this side, this is all from the text. This is quotes from the text, comes right out of the book. And then this is what I think about what's going on, right? And I do that for the whole chapter. So I have quotes and thinking, right? I felt like one of those Indian scouts who led the U.S. cavalry against the other Indians, and the cartoon that says, "Who am I?" Right? Junior still feels like he betrayed his tribe. So I keep text and thinking. So I have, and this is a little book, so there's lots of pages. Right? And then at the very end of the chapter, I do a little reflection. And then I go back to the first page and I write what happened in that chapter. And this works for me because I'm the teacher. And so if I'm in a 16-week semester, I assign different chapters as chunks. We only had 7 weeks, so I divided this book into 5 chunks because we had to do it quickly. In my 16-week class, we usually read this in 4 weeks. So I have it in 4 chunks. So this just helps me to know where I'm at and what I was thinking. So, but this is how I keep track. This is a really good way of keeping track of my thinking. So here's my reflection for this chapter, for the chapter about the basketball game. Okay. Oh, whoops. I'm not on the right page. There it is. I feel sorry for Junior here. There was really no way to win.
It's very sad, this part.
Yeah, it is really sad. I agree.
It's all sad.
Mm-hmm.
It's all rip.
Yeah, I agree. I feel so sorry for Junior here. There was really no way to win. If he would have been submissive like he usually was, Will Pennant would have abused him again, just like they did before when they put him in the hospital. But coming on strong hurt him too, just not physically. No matter what, Reardon has given Junior a gift of rising to his true ability and worth, both in basketball and in school and socially, with friends who stick up for him. But it has hurt his identity with the people he loves most. Right? So that's my thinking about that chapter. Does that make sense? So this coming week is our very last week of reading this book. Our last chunk, you're going to finish the book this week. And what I want you to do is I want you to really think about your feelings about this book. And, you know, Khadija just said it's so sad, right? But I want you to kind of think about how I wrote my reflection here, right? And I want you to try that. I want you to try and think a little bit beyond the text, but about what's happening in the text, right? So, and I'm going to just redo that little bit that I just did, if I can find it quickly, which I won't be able to because why? Here it is. So I said, oh, wait a minute. There. I said, but it has hurt his identity with the people he loves most. So that sentence is where I would probably write this much, which is not that much. It's probably, you know, just a few words. But remember that your letters need to be at least 300 words, if not longer. And I would probably write this, and then that last sentence about identity, that might be where I begin, and I'd start talking about how identity is really important for all of us, right? And especially if your culture is different than dominant culture, that identity is really hard to hold on to and keep. It's hard because all of the images that you see on TV and all of the things that you see in magazines and in the newspaper, it is all dominant culture, white culture, right? So that makes it really hard to hang on to your own identity with your own stuff. And I think that Junior is right now feeling that way. Like, I'm in this white school and I was really happy that I won my game. But that hurts my identity as an Indian, right? As an American Indian. So I probably would start there, and I would think about the whole United States and our society and how that affects us, right? And I'd probably connect that to what's happening today, because there's a lot happening today, right? There's a lot of protests. There's a lot of sticking up for people of color and Indigenous people and Black Americans right now. And so I would probably talk about that because that's what this is, right? Does that make sense? So I'm going to challenge you to make your thinking really visible in your letters this week, and to make them really a little bit more sophisticated. Okay? That does not mean I don't want to hear about your stories. If something is resonating with you and you're making some text to self connections, I want to hear about that. Those are the best reflections, is when you bring your own stuff in there and you talk about your life. Okay? So I'm just wanting you to write a little bit more, think a little bit harder, connect it to different things, right? So even though this was about the grandmother and then, you know, all of that, I might even bring that in. I might be like, and this goes back to how grandma was really tolerant of differences. And this shows that that's really difficult, because all of the identity issues and dominant culture issues, right? So do some discussing about what you're thinking about. Okay? All right. I am here if you need me for anything. You know that you can request a Zoom meeting whenever you want. All right. Ugbad, you wanted to do something about the e-services, right? And I'm going to check on something before we do that. Ray, I am going to call you out on something right now. Do your homework, honey, okay? I
Yeah.
want to see your papers. I'm a little bit worried about you right now because of that. So do your homework, get all those papers done.
Okay.
Okay? All right.
Yeah.
That's all I've got for you. I do need to tell you that I have to bring my son to the doctor today, and we have to be there at 11:30. So I know we have I usually have office hours. I usually leave Zoom open until noon, but I will be leaving about 10 after 11. So my office hour is not going to happen today. But of course, after that, I'm available. So if you still need to talk to me, just email me and we'll set up a time this afternoon. I am free all afternoon. Okay?
Okay.
I will talk to you in the afternoon, please.
Yes. Email me.
Yeah.
Email me what time. I should be back home by 12:30 for sure. So just let me know. Let me know when you want to meet. Okay?
Okay, we will do, Miss. When you coming back, I think
No,
you're gonna.
I'm going to talk to you about e-services right now. I
Okay.
still have a few minutes. I'm
Okay.
talking to the other two of you. Okay, if you guys need me, you let me know. All right?
Yeah, because I need to talk about my grade too.
Okay.
About your what, Khadija?
My grade?
Okay, yep, we'll talk about that. You just let me know when. Ray, you okay?
Yeah, I'm okay. Cause I know that I'm not done, so
Do
I'm
your
not even doing any. So yeah.
do your homework. All right. All right, so I'm
You
gonna
mean for
stay on.
this?
Okay.
You mean
Yeah.
for this week?
Yes, for this week.
Or for this week? Okay.
Do it. Do it. Okay.
Okay.
All right. I'll talk to you later on, Khadija. I'll see you later, Ray. And you and I are going to do e-services, right, Ubad?
Okay.
Cool beans.
Yes, Miss.
Okay. I'm going to have you share your screen, and I'm going to look something up at the same time.
You tell me go this side,
Aha. Yes.
and then I don't know where's next.
What I'm worried about is that the last day to change your grade has passed.
Huh?
Hold on a second. I'm going to look something up. Nope. Hold on. I'm almost there. I'm just looking
Okay.
something up. Hold on.
Take your time, Miss.
Yeah. Today is the 20th, right? Awesome. Okay, so we are good. Sorry, I didn't mean to mute myself. All right, show me your e-services again. Share your screen with your e-services.
That's right there.
Yes, okay. So, it says grade method normal.
I don't see.
Okay, down in the legend at the bottom. Nope, scroll back down again. Do you see where it says legend?
This one?
Yep, and it says change grade method.
Yes, but it's not working.
Click on that
I did.
and it doesn't work.
Yes.
Today's the 20th though.
Yeah.
You should be able to.
Even Miss, like when the Adam told me you can do it, I just tried, but it's not working. I think it was 17. I mean, like 18 and 17. I tried both of them.
Okay, scroll. Doesn't let you do that. Why not? All right, I scroll back down again. All right. Oh, I see. All right, so in the box where, right there, yep,
Is this
click
one?
there, yep, click there.
Okay.
And now,
Is there like straight juice?
yep. Oh, the grade method change deadline is June 15th. But that's not right. That shouldn't be right.
Yep.
Try clicking on I have read and understood
This one?
and say I agree. And now try again. Oh, put your password in. Oh, for God's sake.
They say like if you
Okay, so now go down to the pencil again.
what they say?
The pencil. Yeah, it's okay. No, 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 the pencil.
This one?
Yep. Try that again.
I did, but it's give me this one.
Weird. All right, I'm going to email Adam.
Okay.
He's going to have to do this for you. I don't know how else to do it.
Me too. I got confused.
I'm annoyed about this right now. Okay, so I'm gonna email him right now while you're on my, so I do not stop. Hold on. New message. There we go. Adam. Change grade method. Hi, Adam. Will you please help Ugbad? Spell your last name for me, Ugbad.
UG. My last name is Barud. Sorry, Bobby. No. Come enjoy us, okay? Just sit here and don't watch, okay? Just sit here, say hi. It's my sister's son. He was trying to play my laptop.
Of course he does. He wants to press all those buttons. All right, Ugbad, I am copying you on this email, and I'll just read it to you. It says, hi, Adam, will you please help Ugbad, is it Barud?
Yes.
Change her grading method to pass no credit. Today is the last day. I tried to help her, but e-services will not let her change it. She clicked on all the right things, but it didn't work. I looked, and today is the last day. Thank you. All right, so I'm sending this, and you'll get it too. So hopefully that'll help. Okay?
Okay.
Um,
Okay.